Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. How you doing? I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're all doing really well. And I'm going to start off today with a question for all of you old geezers like me. And the question is, do you remember Gilligan's Island? Yeah. Yeah. Well, the most fabulous thing about Gilligan's Islands were the reruns because they're still going on, and every time I can get a chance, I still like Gilligan's Island. And the reason I'm telling you this is because today's presentation, today's live stream is a rerun, but it is a little bit improved, and it's backed by, we had some people asking me to repeat, and we also had some difficulties with the recording for the first version. So, hey, today we are going to talk one more time about the 5 pillars of business resilience. Okay, lots of you probably didn't get in and listen to the first one, so here's your chance. If you did, keep listening in again. This one's a little bit better, and it's also you never know what you might have missed the first time around. So thank you very much for listening in. And business resilience is not just something that we should be thinking about right now because the whole damn world is falling to pieces. Okay, we should be thinking about business resilience as entrepreneurs all the time. But the truth is, the world's falling to pieces right now, and it's a damn good time to think about business resilience. So let's jump in there and talk about the 5 pillars. Okay, we are in stormy seas, and the next few months are not going to be easy, and I mean months. This isn't going to be a week. You can listen to whoever you want, but there's still there's time ahead of us. Hey, there is stormy weather ahead for a while, and recovery isn't going to be miraculous. It's going to take a lot of effort on our part as entrepreneurs to pull society back up and get things moving again. So with this in mind, it is so important to understand the way people are thinking and the way you have to be adapting your business right now to a new world. Okay. First of all, I don't believe we're ever going to go back to the end of January. Okay, things are going to be different. This is an inflection point, and there isn't going to be a back to normal. There is going to be a forward to something new that we're going to just have to learn to love. Okay. But I want to talk to you because I've done this a lot of times. I've talked about this a lot, but it's so important that I'm just going to repeat it and pound it into your heads. So you can just chalk it up to me being just a boring old geezer, and he repeats his stories. But every human being has 3 brains. And in today's climate, in rough, stormy weather, you must be even more conscious of the 3 brains that every one of your clients has. And this is really, really important, okay? And everybody thinks of a brain as a ball of gray matter, right? That's kind of wrinkly and, that's what you think of as brain, okay? And that is the cerebral cortex, okay? The brain that everybody thinks about when you think brain is the cerebral cortex. And it is where abstract thinking lives. It's where logic lives. It's where reason lives. And, it is, of the 3 brains we're going to talk about right now, it is the least important. Okay, do not let anybody convince you that the cerebral cortex is the most important brain, because it isn't. Okay, the second brain that every human being has is called the limbic brain. Okay, and the limbic brain is where emotions come from. That's where happy comes from. That's where sad comes from. That's where lonely comes from. That's where, elation or anger. All these emotions come from your limbic brain, and it's a part. It's deeper down under that cerebral cortex, and it's controlled by hormones, and it is that's the second brain that every human being has. And then the third brain is the reptilian brain, and it's down here, it's right there, it's a little ball, okay? And it has only two functions: survival and reproduction. That's what the reptilian brain does. And the reason I'm telling you this is not because I want you to become neurosurgeons, or I want you to, be fascinated by human physiology, which we all should be. And this is really cool stuff. But the reason is because the reptilian brain controls all the decision process. Okay. The order of decision making is reptilian, limbic, and cerebral. Okay. So under normal circumstances, your messaging and your marketing need to be focused on the limbic and the reptilian brains. That's just the way things are. It doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter if you sell cars, you sell hot dogs, you sell B2B, sophisticated B2B consulting services. I don't care. Your messaging needs to be always focused on the limbic and reptilian brains. But right now, even more so, okay? Right now, everybody is scared. That means reptilian brains are firing on all circuits. People are worried about survival, okay? They're worried about their futures. They're worried about their jobs. And if you don't reframe your marketing with that in mind right now, you are going to be irrelevant, and you're going to be ignored, and you're also probably going to come off as cold and heartless. Okay. So really, you must take this moment and rethink your marketing and your messaging and adapt it. Okay. Don't be using the same messaging you were using 3 weeks ago. It's a bad idea. Okay. That is my little rant, but it is a key ingredient of business resilience. Okay. If you don't understand this, you're going to suffer. Okay. So the three brains, please remember that. Okay, let's talk about business resilience. Let's talk about withstanding those hurricane winds. Okay, let's talk about being strong and weathering the storm. Okay, so the first pillar of business resilience is operational resilience. Okay, this is what most of you think about when you think of resilience. Okay, you think of the practical operational stuff that you need to get done to keep your business going. Okay, and I've divided this into two main areas: location resilience and team resilience. Okay, location resilience obviously is very important right now because of the lockdowns, because of the the orders to stay away, stay in place, to not move, to not travel, to not to work from home. Okay, so that means that you need to be prepared to be resilient in with problems about your location. So remote work, online service, shifts, and lack of access. What if your employees can't get to the office or shouldn't get to the office? IT preparedness for this is very, very important. So these are things you need to be thinking about. Team resilience. Who are your essential team members? What are your backup plans? How do you keep people coordinated and on the same page? How do you make sure everybody has access to the information they need to get their jobs done? And how do you keep your team productive? Okay, these are the key ingredients of team resilience. If you focus on these and you really, and you put in place measures that improve on these fronts, you're going to be stronger. Okay. So this is operational resilience, and it's probably what most everybody's talking about right now is remote work. Is Zoom good? Is Zoom bad? Don't forget backups. Don't forget making sure that people can actually access information. Don't forget the productivity loss of not being able to see your team members physically. You have to, they're on the other side of the cloud, so to speak. It doesn't matter if they're across the street or across the planet. It complicates things. Okay, and I've run remote teams now for many years, but it takes a special skill set. It takes, it's not the same as when you have everybody in the office and you can just kind of, walk around and talk to people and see how they're doing and you don't have that luxury when you're working remotely, and you need to supplement it with tools, with systems, and with maintaining that human contact with your team. Okay, so that's operational resilience. Second pillar is financial resilience. Okay, and here you need to be thinking about reserves, money in the bank, receivables that are coming in, your cash flow planning. You need to be thinking about financing. So supplier financing, really important. Can you shift part of your risk to suppliers and spread it out a bit? Obviously, credit, and another financing source is equity. Okay, maybe you need to be thinking right now of bringing in new investors. It's hard. I understand that right now. Investors are just like other human beings, are scared. Okay, and they're worried, and they're very cautious, and they're going to be taking baby steps, and they're going to be looking for a really, really good deal. Okay, so it is what it is. Think about convertible notes. Think about ways of doing, so that you're not giving away the farm. But don't close the door to that. There are people, investors out there interested in, taking advantage of the moment, and that can be something important. Finally, for financial resilience, you've got to think about planning. What's your burn rate? How's your cash flow plan going? I don't really care about your balance sheet right now. I don't care about your profit and loss. The most important thing right now is, do you have fuel in the tank to get to next week, next payroll, next month, 6 months from now? Okay, that's the questions that you need to be asking yourself and really focusing on. So that's financial resilience. Okay, cost resilience, third pillar here. Okay, it's time to batten down some hatches. Okay, we saw the stormy seas. Hey, you don't. If you're going into rough seas, well, you close the hatches, you close them down, and you try to make sure that your boat, your ship is as watertight as possible, right? So things to think about: subscriptions. Okay, look at all those recurring things that you're paying for all the time that maybe now you can prune them down. Look at your location costs. Okay, can you, if more people aren't coming to the office, can you downsize? Can you consolidate the people that are coming into a smaller space and change? Yeah, it's a pain right now. It wouldn't be, big movements are hard to make. Can you renegotiate? Can you talk to your landlords or whoever your leaseholders and say, hey, can we bring down the cost? Because otherwise, you may not have a paying tenant after this is all blows over. External services. Really look at your external services and say, hey, what is necessary and what isn't? Costs of goods and services. So raw materials, inventory, obviously you need to be thinking about that. Planning it out really well. Now isn't the time to have big surpluses in your inventory. Team costs. This is what everybody's thinking about. I want you to be cautious, okay, for a couple of things here. First of all, it's really easy to think, okay, I just need to cut payrolls. You got to be smart about this. You also have to think about what comes next. Okay, so that's why when I mentioned you really need to identify your essential team members, you really need to look at the possibilities of reducing your team costs without reducing your team, or reducing as little as possible. And I understand these are hard decisions, and you got to make them. So there may be team members you can't keep on, but do remember that it's a domino effect. We're all paying for this. In the end, people can't go hungry. So we have to all do as best we can and try to keep things going. By the way, these new SBA loans for payroll protection loans, I understand I still haven't figured out how to get through the process yet, because banks are all up in the air and it's really complicated. But there are resources out there. Bonuses, look at benefits, look at other ways that you can reduce your HR costs without necessarily reducing team members if you can avoid it. Okay, that's cost resilience. Now let's talk about revenue resilience. Okay, you got to really think this through. your current clients. This is your treasure. This, you've got to really focus. You've got, I talk to my clients all the time about being customer centric because it's all about who you serve. But right now, customer centric isn't a cerebral abstract concept. Okay, this is reptilian. This is survival. Okay, you need your customers. You need them to be as healthy as possible so that you can stay healthy. You're going to have cancellations. You're going to have payment problems. They're going to have special needs. So start anticipating it. Start figuring it out before they call you. Call them. Sit down with them. Now is the time to be talking to your best customers as often as you possibly can. Okay, stay close to them and keep them. Make sure they think of you as part of their team and not one of those external services that they have to cut back on. Okay, contracts in your pipeline, you're going to have slowdowns, you're going to have reluctance. So start thinking about risk reversal. Start thinking about how you can reframe every deal that you have in your pipeline to make it more reptilian for your customers. Really stop and think about it. The arguments you were using to close sales a month ago will not work right now. They aren't enough. So stop and think about them. Think them through. Figure out how you're going to reframe so that your customers and your prospects are still interested and will close, because people are going to be purchasing. Okay, if this is as bad as the Great Depression, and maybe it will be, maybe that's going to be 25% unemployment, maybe 30%. That would be really terrible. That still leaves 70% in their jobs working. Okay, that still leaves businesses looking to solve problems and needing, suppliers. So, it is a question of how you frame yourself in the market and how you position yourself with your clients and with your prospects. But if you think that you can just cross your fingers, go to church and light a candle and, your pipeline is going to survive, that's not a good thought. That's not a good strategy. Just be proactive, start thinking about it. And then start thinking about alternative revenue streams. Can you virtualize the way your products and services? Can you come up with new ways of fulfillment? Can you come up with new lower priced alternatives? Can you package your products and services in a different way? Can you add new things, training, consulting, anything that you can do to bring in extra revenue is going to help keep your business afloat and keep you more resilient. So really important there. Revenue resilience, these are really important ideas. And finally, strategic resilience. Okay, look, this talks directly to you. Hey, this is a message from me, Dennis Lewis, to you. Look, I'm looking you in the eye right now. Okay, maintain your focus. It is so important. We are critical as entrepreneurs. We're critical. We're essential to coming out of this crisis. Okay, we are the ones that are going to save the day. Don't look for politicians to do it. I don't care what color. I don't care what kind of a cap you wear. I don't care right now. It doesn't matter. As entrepreneurs, we're the ones that are going to do the work. We're the ones that are going to keep food on people's tables. We're going to keep the economy going. So it's really, really important. Don't go Netflix crazy. Hey, you can watch a movie every once in a while. You can, that's fine. I admit I watched all of Picard. It was amazing. I loved it. It's great. But that's for Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, fine, in the evenings, great. Maintain your focus right now. Keep your eye on the ball. You've got to keep maintaining your company top of mind for your customers. And that talks about, that means you've got to be focusing on your content strategies. You've got to be relevant. You've got to be interesting. You've got to be engaging. And you've got to be really providing real value to your customers. Okay, it's going to be easier than ever to be forgotten. So you have to be a useful resource. You have to be there for your audience. Okay, and then you have to start planning for what happens next. Okay, it's not just about surviving. It's about coming out on top. And I've been sending a lot of personal messages out. I've been talking to CEOs and founders and startups and big companies, and I've been talking these last weeks all about the same idea. It's all about coming out on top, and you've got to focus on a strategy that allows you to actually not just, coming out on top is surviving. It means coming out the other side, but it means coming out stronger than your competition. Okay, and it doesn't mean necessarily that your revenue is going to go up. Probably not. It doesn't mean that you're going to be thrilled with the results for 2020. Probably not. But if you're there for 2021 and you're at the top of your game and you're a leader in your marketplace, then man, I am so proud of you. That is where you have to be focused on being. And that means that when you're analyzing your costs, don't forget this after scenario. Okay. So, I know there's a tendency right now. It's just like cut everything you can, but don't do it. Okay. Don't stop your marketing. Reframe your marketing, make it smarter, make it more cost efficient, make it more limbic and reptilian. Yes, but don't stop. Okay. It's essential that you not stop, and don't cut your whole team away, because those essential team members may not be there later for you. Okay. They're going to remember. They may find another job. They may go out and open their own business. Who knows? So, now is the time to be smart in the now and in the later. Okay. And you've got to find that balance. That's key to strategic resilience. Okay. Hopefully, 22 minutes. This one's been a little bit longer than other times. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please, by all means, leave them in the comments below. Give me a few likes. Make me know that you're out there and you care about these live streams I'm doing every day. I told you I do these not only for you, which I hope you find them helpful and interesting and engaging. I also do them for me because it keeps me focused. It keeps me engaged. I'm under lockdown, and so it's good for me too. But I really like to hear from you guys. By the way, we have a business resilience checklist that we've put together based on the ideas that I talked about today. If you want a copy, I'll give it to you free. All you have to do is leave a comment and a like on this post, on this video on LinkedIn, and I will get that to you. Okay, that's my word to you, and it's free. There's nothing to sell. It's a nice extensive checklist that you can go through in your business and make sure that you're not forgetting key things. So thanks again. Many thanks for listening in. Here's my contact information. You can find me here on LinkedIn. And yeah, we have an exciting CEO interview for tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't already done so, please go to Amazon, check out my book, Behold the Cryptopreneurs. It's good stuff. It's a fun read. You'll enjoy it. That was a shameless plug. And thank you very much for listening in. I appreciate it very much. Take care. Stay safe. Talk to you tomorrow.